know poetry dropping where the pen clicks and poets get a poppin' with the Pen Clique. You now rock with Kuya David, the Pen Clique Prime Minister. Out here with my brother Daniel, he's the chubby fat god. And we are the Pen Clique, a poetry podcast where we have esteemed, illustrious guest poets who perform their poetry, share their story, and speak their truth. And today's guest poet is artist, activist, entrepreneur, LA native, Lana LosAngeles. Let's get it!
I grew up standardized test taking, filling boxes on Scantrons that supposedly matched my description, so you can imagine my confusion when the directions read, select one. Stunned, nervous and fidgeting, elementary school desk sitting, olive complexioned, wild hair wind whipped uncontrollably, one of the many faces of duality, mixed ethnicity, a look of racial ambiguity. I am the second daughter of interracial relations, and my parents are still married. Diversity is my reality. I see it seated at the dinner table with me, and we have never shied away from the topic of conversation. So excuse my frustration when my parents' sacrifice for a better education all boiled down to which parent got my selection. I have always been mixed and proud, and I wasn't the only mixed kid in the crowd, and so I wondered, how did they make their mark? I remember coming in from playing with a friend, also mixed. Matter of fact, we looked like twins, and her mother posed the question, how do you identify? And she said, Black. And just like that, I watched her mother's white shame grace her face as if somehow in that one instance, her single parenting had been erased. What a shame. We feel like we don't have the right to go both ways, and our systematic education just perpetuates that phase. Diversity is America's common ground. I know, because that's how I came around, and so astounded I'm standing when our institutions are demanding that I deny half my parenting so you can see clearly which box got my mark. Any extra, excess, or outside marks might disrupt the results of this exam. And just like that, I can hear the man further try to silence, slicing at the tongues of my ancestors, but my parents and their parents and the parents of their parents' parents, they all deserve to be acknowledged. They farmed and fed, sewed and swept, broken French and country dialect. They are all pieces of me, and I represent them equally. We're not meant to fit into prisons. This land does not thrive on borders and distinctions, and I refuse to lose half my lineage based on line items on a Scantron. My family was midwives and military men, builders, teachers, nurturers, and healers, and they deserve better than to be pressed into some box. It's not that simple. Our people are not that simple. We were not conceived with the idea in mind of what standardized test box we would fit into. We are kaleidoscope fission. The image changes depending on the way that you twist it. Being mixed and diverse is how we fit into a country that's supposed to be welcoming and free. I remember learning of segregation and slavery, and I asked my teacher, what would happen to people who look like me? You would not exist, was her reply as she dismissed the makeup of my life, and I watched as the laugh lines that graced the face of each classmate traced my bloodlines down to dust. The class moved on, but I fell into a silent hush, clutching to my identity as if it could so easily be stripped from me, dismissed and tossed out quick like the discarded sections of the Sunday paper that my interracial parents peruse over their morning coffee. The class had lost me, in a feeling more isolating than I had ever wanted to be accustomed to. Our identities are not exclusive. They are melting pot mixed in. They should be praised, celebrated, and paraded in the streets. They are Mardi Gras and gumbo pots and 1,200-acre farms and the best damn corn on the cob, and those acres cannot fit inside your boxes. We have all come here by way of some immigrants' travels, and those travels surpass borders and boxes. They cannot be isolated and locked in. Your Scantron does not define them. I cannot be lined in. My parents will not be eraser marked out. And so I stand here, still olive complexioned, still wild hair wind whipped uncontrollably, refusing to be boxed in, refusing to leave my identity out, refusing to be isolated, locked up and tied down. I am mixed and proud, and there is no box for me here.
Yo, no there isn't. Let's go. Lana LosAngeles in the cuss.
Hell yeah.
Welcome to the Clique.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. This is a dream come true. Hang with y'all.
Already,
heavy hitters over here. Heavy hitters.
Already a Clique member though. She recently helped out. She helped out with the poetry art gallery last year. You know what I'm saying? She came through. We did a little poetry movement thing, and it was fire, y'all.
Visual poetry art. You know what it is?
It's a movement. Pen Clique is a movement. Follow up.
Entertainment. Yo, poetry, entertainment, 2020 out here.
Yes.
But yeah, you've already been a member of the Clique, so it seemed fitting, right, to have you come through and like do it proper, do the thing right.
And it's great because that means that she also knows how the show goes.
Hey.
Going into the first segment of the show, Threads and Lines.
This is all first verse. All first verse. You about to get this work.
Threads and Lines is the first segment of the show where we investigate what are the threads of life experiences that tie together those lines of poetry. Threads and lines.
Hey, and like life experiences, right? Like being the key word here. Super evocative and like transportative. What is the word?
Yep.
I like
transportative.
That. I'll take it.
Yeah.
We all just went back to third grade for a second.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just smelled like old milk and shitty fucking French bread pizza and shit. You feel me? Remember Lunchable pizzas?
Oh,
that awful trash we all ate like low key.
Yeah.
High key. Fuck it. Like once a month I go get SpaghettiOs. I still eat. The Lunchable pizzas I'll still get. I got raviolis recently. Like, oh, I remember that. That's the jam. No, don't fuck with that.
Adobo and rice. Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, my mom actually packed my lunch. I was really lucky.
Hey.
Shout out to Kalo.
I got raised on suburban white people food.
Sorry, bro.
Sorry.
Shame.
Might have like some cancer issues later in life because of it, but we'll see.
But yeah.
But all of this imagery it's super effective, right? Like everything here is relatable, easily digested, and lends itself to the greater point that you're trying to make, which is something that like sometimes when we're using metaphor, the point gets lost in the metaphor, right? Because the metaphor's too big, or you're being too hard with it. And this is kind of the opposite of that.
Right.
This is almost like a clinic on how to like
effectively
write what you know, right? Like don't reach into, because that's the problem. We reach into these weird metaphors where it's like, you are like the eternal mist of the universe grace. Like, bro, you don't know what the universe looks like, you feel me? But when you're like, to frame the whole poem, the Scantron, because being 90s babies, we all had
to
Scantrons.
take them every year.
Why do you settle on that? Why the Scantron and like not the classroom? Or because you mentioned like the classroom, you mentioned like these the acreage of the South, you mentioned all of these metaphors, but you land on the Scantron to frame all of this.
Absolutely.
So why that metaphor and amidst all of these other? You could do this about any of these. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I think I landed on the Scantron just because growing up in a mixed household, I wasn't ever really aware that being mixed was a isolating thing. You know, like my family's all together. Have always been together. So it really didn't cross my mind. And it was in the household. And so it wasn't until getting into school and sitting down to that Scantron that I was ever initially faced with having to choose either or. That was my first memory of having to pick and analyzing to myself, what are the repercussions of picking one or the other? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean for my parents? What does that look like for our household? You know? And
you mentioned that in the poem, like denying. Right here, you say all boiled down to which parent got my selection.
Right.
And that, like, if you mark black, are you denying your mother? If you mark white, are you denying your father?
Exactly. Who are both active in my life and have always been active in my life, and who have both been instrumental, in all of the things that I've done, especially in school. And so it's like now being faced with school and having to deny one of them that access and that identity and that claim to that just didn't feel right. And that is the first time that I was really faced with that. And so the rest of the poem just kind of like flew off that, you know, like once I started delving into like my school memories, especially around that like formative age, I started realizing how often that was a thing in school and I didn't even realize it, you know, like later on talking about like learning about segregation and slavery. And I remember that day so vividly, you know, like asking my teacher that and not understanding that being mixed wasn't a thing for other people.
Yeah.
You know,
but it did exist.
It did exist for sure. But it just wasn't something that was addressed.
Or that teacher just wasn't comfortable.
Yeah,
in
schooling you,
right?
teaching
100%,
you.
and like talking about like, I mean, I don't want to get all like.
Yo, what's that teacher's name, real quick? What's that teacher's name?
No, I'm not gonna shout her. She was a great teacher, though.
But isn't that the problem though? Like with like the American system and education system is like we aren't having those fucking hard conversations.
100%.
It's like, you know what would have happened to you? You would have been black.
Right.
You would have been in the same
The
situation as all the black people.
The one drop
your
rule,
white father would have denied you,
or
your
passing.
black,
You know, like all of those types of conversations. You know, I've got family in my lineage who passed as white. You know, or were then ostracized for.
Well, you mentioned like Creole, right?
Absolutely.
And, like, the French mixing there is hard. And, like, there's a lot of it, right?
There's a lot.
Very
and
light-skinned
absolutely,
black people in
absolutely.
that
And you know, those should have been the conversations that were had, but they weren't. And instead, it was just like completely dismissing everything that I was trying to process in my 4th grade mind. You know,
and like what an effective framing too, because you describe like, okay, in my house, and a testament to your parents for raising you in a way where you had no idea, right? You were just a human being,
right?
And just a human, and then all of a sudden you're 6 years old, 7 years old, and it's like, no, you're not. You're a biracial American. Like, what the fuck? That's
and it wasn't like my
realization.
parents. It wasn't like my parents glossed over it. My parents are super down to earth and like super conversational, and we always communicated, and we've always been very aware of our roots and where our parents came from and their parents came from. But it was never a this or that.
Yeah.
It was just all of us are together.
This is also something that like, though your parents try to help you out with, this is something that they can't even truly understand.
No.
Because this is not reflective of, because that's funny, like a big frustration that a lot of, you know, younger kids, you know, teenagers like have with their parents is that their parents will always try to center their story back to them. It's like son, daughter, like, what did you do today? And then like, oh, I'm not really doing good at math today. And then the father will be like, well, when I was your age,
right,
math, I approached math like this. I thought it was stupid too, but then da. But it's like, and then they just make it about themselves, and now the kid's frustrated. It's like, oh, you don't understand because you just want to talk about your own shit. And it's like, but in your case, like specifically, like there's no way your parents, but like maybe they'll try to like, you know, sneak in their own story, but like, yeah, well, you know, as a black father, but it's not exactly the same. So,
I could really tell that my parents felt bad because they couldn't relate. You know, like my parents are not mixed, so they couldn't relate, and they didn't really know how to help me when I come home with this problem. Like, what am I supposed to fill out on these tests? Like, they don't know, and they don't know how to help me, and they feel bad for that. You know, like it almost as if them making us mixed was doing us a disservice of some kind, you know, because all of a sudden we're like put in this predicament and they don't know how to get us out of it. And it was sad. And
like, growing up, especially like, you know, you being a teenager at the time, and going through your own emotions, and just parenting is, you know, a teenager is like a very difficult time. Was there like a turning point where like something clicked within your parents that like allowed them to really access you or better understand your situation?
I think they're still trying to understand my situation, but I think that I eventually started choosing other on those types of things. And I think when I came to them with that, and they realized how like locked into my mixed identity I was, and how like offended to my core that I would have to choose, I feel like they really understood like the type of person I am, and like where I'm coming from with my like identity issues and things like that. Like they saw very clearly that I was not like down with that, and also that I was never going down without a fight, like 100%.
I like that. It comes back to the Scantron, which bubble do you fill? Because, you know, socially you could kind of talk your way around it.
100%.
Right? Like between code switching or just like dismissing it all. But when, as a student, you're sat down in front of a sheet that's asking you which bubble to fill. Right. It's like.
And I think that like growing up, I kind of had it easy, I guess, because I look pretty ambiguous, or I look like a lot of things, you know, like I get taken for pretty much everything, you know, and so it was never really a, like you said, a social thing where I was just pinpointed as one or the other. And so I kind of could just skate by, you know, and other people I'm sure don't have that same experience. But yeah.
And then you're kind of getting hit with curiosity, right?
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Opposed to like
absolutely. And,
a judgment.
And I'll have fun with it. You know, like people will ask me and I'll always make them guess, you know, like.
Don't you love that?
100% like, you know.
The Asian version of that is like, is when we tell people to guess our age. Asian no raisin, baby.
Man.
You know what it is?
Man, no one's ever winning that for sure.
Hell yeah.
For sure. But then, so then to have it printed on like an official document, or what I felt was official in that age, this Scantron, this standardized test, and then eventually like high school applications and college applications and more standardized testing. It just seemed so official and so isolating. And it was showing me more and more that our institutions don't have places for people of color, let alone people who do not fit in a this or that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a new thing they have to reconcile with now. Like, okay, now there's
we
biracial
exist,
people.
right? We exist. We're not. It's not even just people of color anymore. It's now people of color and people who are mixed. And now you've got all of this to grapple with, and they're still trying to like pinpoint you. How can I fit you into this box?
And you know what though? Like, I don't think that it's because, like you said earlier, like this shit isn't new. You know what I'm saying? This has always been a part. There has always been healthy biracial couples in this country. That has always existed.
Truth.
And they are fucking terrified of that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And the all of that, like not wanting to offer that, not offering Creole as an option, even. You know what I'm saying? That is ultimately the result of like long stretching systematic white supremacy shit. Like, we don't want that to happen. So we're not going to embrace those people and give them a bubble. You feel me?
Or how easy would it be to just change the instructions to pick like 2 or more, right? Or check all that apply. Like it's such an easy way to word that to be more inclusive, but select one, like.
That's dangerous though too. Because we all know those like white folks that are like, I'm part Cherokee.
Right, I'm 116.
Yeah, like what? All right.
Daniel, what did you used to fill in?
So I am half Mexican. I'm also racially ambiguous. Real quick, can I ask you this? A lot of times I found that people identify me whenever they're curious with whatever they are. So like Persian people a lot growing up, and to this day are like,
I see that.
Are you Persian?
Sure.
And I'm like, no, but I know you're Persian.
Right,
you
but
know
now I know you are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Did that happen to you?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Yeah.
I can see like Afro-Latin a lot. Like,
I get
like
that a lot.
Afro-Latina.
I get Latina a lot. If my hair is straight, I get Middle Eastern a lot, which I think is interesting because I don't really see it, but they see it heavy. And that's when I get that experience. Like, no, I'm not, but now I know you are. So I feel that.
But yeah, I have a different situation though, because my birth father, my biological father, wasn't in the picture, which is where I get my brown from. And my dad that raised me is white. So I had 2 white parents, so I just usually put white. It wasn't until like later that I even really identified as anything but white, because you know what I'm saying? We grew up the block, I guess, first. But so yeah, I was always just white or other.
Seems like through this poem, like you write it with such confidence, perform with such confidence, and this drips of wisdom. I feel, and I feel like you definitely have a message to tell. You know, it almost feels as if like you're trying to speak to your younger self, as if like, because this feels like
hearkening to yourself, like you're gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying?
So
you will
that
be
being
okay,
said,
girl.
Imagine 14-year-old Lana over there.
Poor thing. Love you, girl.
What are things that you have figured out that you would tell young Lana now?
I think that first and foremost, and I think your point that you just made speaks really heavy to that message that I have on my spirit, is that like it's about speaking your truth, and it's about finding how you identify, what you identify with, what you associate with as your own identity, and realizing that it's yours and no one else can dictate that for you. And ultimately, you belong wherever you are, and there is community out there for you. And when you find whatever it is that you personally associate with, run with that. You know, like, don't let anyone try to dictate your life, your identity, your whatever. You know, like, do you and be you, and stay true to that. For sure.
Hey, fill in that other box.
Yeah, fill in
That's
that other
right.
box. Run with that.
There's others out there, fam. We out here.
And other doesn't have to necessarily mean any particular thing. Other is just other.
What about
other can also mean mind your own goddamn business, government.
Absolutely.
What about kids who are getting who are in situations where they're being pressured or like being criticized, like because you've definitely been in those situations where
absolutely
we're like, oh, you're not black enough, you're not white enough.
Word.
Like, what could you tell kids who are going through similar situations, like how do they stand their ground, or what do they do?
You have to realize that you are enough. You in yourself are enough. You might not be fully one or the other, and people are always going to say terrible things about anything, and they're going to find reasons to nitpick and reasons to try to shame you for whatever, but stay solid. Yeah,
and just kids, dog.
Yeah,
kids are mean.
Kids are so mean, so mean. But stay solid in your ground. Stay true to yourself. You are enough with whatever you come with, however you come, however you look, however you feel. You are enough. And stand your ground. Don't let anyone push you off kilter. Don't let anyone make you waver in your footing. Like, you are whole, you are yourself, and you're solid in that, and be solid in that, for sure.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you are yourself.
Speak your truth, like we do here on the Pen Clique.
Facts.
Gert.
Yeah, and that's There's a Lines. Thank you so much for dropping all that knowledge, girl.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Moving on to the second segment of the show, the two-piece combo. Two-piece combo! The two-piece combo is where we review two pieces of poetry, one off of YouTube and one off of Instagram. Today's YouTube piece is Anxiety by Levi the Poet. Levi the Poet?
Levi.
All right, Levi the Poet. And this was brought to us by Miss Lana, who suggested it.
And knowing how I'd shake sometimes.
Shout out to the Gauge Hole ears.
He asked if I could help explain his wife's anxiety, saying every time he tried to be her sounding board, he, in his lack of understanding, became more an object of envy while simultaneously reflecting her own disdain for the stranger she found herself exchanged for in his chest like a mirror where, for some reason, his love beat at regular intervals and normal patterns and only skipped when, and I quote,
I feel like he's like doing, like it started and he sounds like a YouTube poet, you know what I'm saying? Like you sound like you learned how to write poetry from every video you saw on YouTube. He's talented though, because like he starts picking it up in like that little run, but I feel like sometimes you hear poets and I'm like, oh, you don't perform a lot publicly. And often what that means is they just get through the piece. And I feel like he's just getting through the piece because as cool as that was all the stuff he just said, what the fuck did he just say? You
right. Like what you call kind of there are bedroom rappers who only rap like in the confines of their bedroom and don't actually do shows. This bedroom poet. Is that
I'm not going to go as far to say that because he is good. Like I think there's something there. But there isn't enough time to comprehend any of it. Like, bro, breathe a little bit. Like, let your words breathe.
Let a line resonate.
And it's one of those things, too, that you've seen in rappers, especially, like, in the backpack scene, like, and especially in, like, the lighter skin rappers, you feel me?
Yeah.
They'll just speed it up really fast, and then they do it faster and faster and faster just to prove something.
Shout out
and it's
Logic.
like, yo, chill, bro. Like, just fucking... If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, rewrite it.
I for sure used to do that. Like... thought that being fast meant that you were hard.
Yeah, if I can say it as fast as I can, it'll sound harder.
For
but
sure.
No, then they just don't know what the
For
fuck you
some
said.
reason, his love beat at regular intervals and normal patterns and only skipped when, and I quote, she'd beat electric fists into me, like defibrillating a healthy heart while hers was under arrest and she begged him to understand, but, and I quote,
Yeah, what does that mean? Electric fist?
Under somehow heart arrhythmia and shit. But it's like if you're gonna say arrest, you could make like a metaphor. You could build off that metaphor and do a whole metaphor stack. But
we're not all metaphorical though.
There's a lot. I don't know. There's a lot.
No, he is though. He's clearly trying
for sure.
because he said electric fists, and my mind went to Pokemon, but that's just because I'm silly. But like, now you got to do all this work. Make electric fists do something, and I don't think he did.
Like defibrillating a healthy heart while hers was under arrest and she begged him to understand, but
I see. So he said like electric fist and they hit him like defibrillating a healthy heart. Okay.
Like, under arrest, understand.
Again, if he slowed the fuck down a little bit and breathe.
He said her electric fists, defibrillating his healthy heart while hers was under arrest.
Okay, yeah, no, I see. And again, like, I'm missing a lot of this. I'm looking at the
caught it,
time
but-
length, though. I didn't. And I'm looking at how
yeah,
long
it
it
says
is,
long.
and that might be why he's doing it at this pace. You know what I'm saying? To subject people to a 5-minute poem.
I quote, I can't.
You got to be quick with that.
And knowing how she'd shake sometimes and try to communicate through stutters when the cogs in her mind jammed and caught the wheel of another thought vying for her attention, I, oh almighty I, became more of a silver lining combined with a witch available to burn depending upon the outcome. Like maybe my tongue could breed magic that douses the fires and I quote, staked between us. They are high. And I surmised, and getting higher.
Yo, real quick. I feel like he could have said, like, the points he's making, he could have said within, like, a much shorter time frame. Like, this feels hella padded.
This is word swag.
Yeah.
It's not bad word swag.
Yeah.
Word swag.
But
I
it's
don't
word
think I've
swag.
ever heard that before.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
what-
that.
Want to explain it?
Yeah, so sometimes, like, in poetry, we'll use, like, metaphors and words to convey big thoughts. Sometimes, like, we're just using metaphors and words to sound like we're conveying big thoughts, or we keep adding words to big thoughts when
Or
it's
or when you're trying
yo.
to like, rhyme, you rhyme, but you're not really saying shit. Like, that's word swag.
Yeah, where it sounds super
Word
deep,
swag.
but it's like, is this just a bunch of padding around this small concept? You know what I'm saying?
Which I kind of feel it is.
I'm not willing to make that judgment yet. Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I'll light the match myself.
Shouts out, this sounds like Jesse from Breaking Bad.
I
Looks
thought
like
of my
he's doing
own
that, right?
wife and wondered if either of them knew what they'd gotten themselves into when they got into it with us.
Got rapper hands.
The shame compounds upon itself when all that I've begun to call God's platitudes don't help, and the shaking has given way to an anger I can't maintain, or a panic I can't suppress as a fuse, whose length you can probably guess, constantly rubbing up against strike anywhere matches, otherwise known as people.
Like, I kind of fuck with that. Like, a fuse, the length that you could probably guess. Like, that's a fun new fuse thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's new. I haven't heard that yet. I'll give it to him.
Flint so non-consensual in the flame created by the iron I like to think of myself as, that they find themselves at a complete loss for how they ever got so tangled up in the tinder I actually am. The ones in closest and most consistent proximity light the fastest and burn the hottest, and as long as
Now
I
he's doing
continue
the
to
metaphor
describe
stuff.
them as the spark constantly setting fire to my rope, then I can remain the victim.
But not like, not a great.
Yeah.
He said the tinder closest to me catches on fire first. Ultimately, like light work.
And
Light work.
it ends on what? Like,
Yeah, I feel you.
Alternatively, you will never cease to hear my omnipotence positioned in the phrase, "Oh, so it's my fault again."
I like that.
And in this way, I can make certain that I am the first and the last, the beginning and the end, so omniscient in every conversation that I can feel myself slipping away as I speak, insisting that I am in my right mind. Is this making sense so far? We don't know who we are in here. I understand that, for the most part, history only celebrates martyrdom for the ones who didn't make a spectacle of lighting themselves on fire. She doesn't want your sentiments. We do not want to personify the void any more than you want to be swallowed up by us as black holes, absorbing all of the light that you fell in love with when our stars were still exploding. Of course, we
Okay.
envy the calm that emanates from the way you are able to choose which candy bar you'd like to purchase at the gas station. It's blinding. Of course, we're angry when you say, well, I don't know, what would you like to share? As if we know. As if I have any idea, and if I'm already shaking because I can't make a decision between Reese's Pieces and Starburst, then how am I ever supposed to go fearless into our future with every infinite possibility lingering with chalkboard nails inside of my head? Just pick a candy bar. If I could just get it out, we might set one another free. still, for some reason, completely unbeknownst to me, firm in my belief that the greatest gifts have been beadlet of empathy, sweat out like pores drained of their blood when the time has come to kiss in this garden, and whether it is for betrayal or passion or both, beneath the dichotomy between words separated by and, you are not floating alone in this awful void, seems to retain its standing as the surefire echo of transcendence incarnate. I couldn't get out a whisper. All I managed to do was shake, but somehow I think that it was enough. Instead of burning the witch,
Okay.
he looked at me as if to say, I've seen that paralysis before. Mouth open as an echo chamber. I guessed that I was just empty.
I just realized this probably reads very well.
Yeah,
think
word.
so too.
Yeah, word.
This is like an 8-page poem, and it's
Yeah.
and I might have enjoyed it as that.
Easily 8 pages.
He looked at me as if to say, I've seen
Good
that
writing,
paralysis before. Mouth open as an echo chamber. I guessed that I was just empty enough for him to hear it.
Yeah, bitch. What if you did it right there? What if you did it? That'd be so
got a
good.
real buck at the end.
I think one thing. So when you
Anxiety by Levi.
by Levi the poet.
Okay.
Yes.
All right,
Levi
so
the poet.
right quick, in oral storytelling, right, when you introduce characters in the story, there are several like things that you have to accommodate for in the oral delivery and audio reception of the story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, especially when in talking about other people, when you say he and she,
Yes.
you have to help define for the audience what he or she is. There's other rules, like some little quick rules of thumbs are one, like only have 2 characters at a time. You can't have a third character if it's you yourself, like talking within the context of these 2 other people. But for the most part, like 2 characters max for a story, because again, a person does not have the luxury to reread
a performance
or re-listen
piece.
to your poem.
Right.
Except for in this case, because we can actually rewind. But in the live oral delivery, it's like it's either they get it or they don't. And then once they don't get it, then like you're starting to
Your moment's
lose things, right? And in this case, when I said this probably reads very well, specifically because the whole time I'm like, who is he? Who is she?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and because I'm kind of hung up on that, I like it's like a lot of it just goes in one ear and out the other for me. And yeah, like that's a shame, because it sounds like he's really speaking his truth, but what that truth is, I have no idea, because I'm lost half the time. Like,
all right.
But I'm
Yeah,
catching
no, I feel you.
I'm catching little flourishes here and there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like he's cooking, like he has actual poetic device here, and like, ooh, like he had a nice little line there. But one, like, dang, you know my Steves. It's like, I like a room shaker, never had one.
No, and he kept doing the room shaker build-up thing that you'll see, where it's like
it's a fake out, bro. It's like I'm about to make a dope moment, but it never comes. And
like Duck You autocorrect, right?
Yeah.
Shout out Mecca. She has this build-up where it's like, no, and you fuck in the build-up, and then room shakes. You know what I'm saying? He keeps doing this pacing where it's like, this is a learned pacing that I learned by watching spoken word, and now I don't understand that you need that big hit. He doesn't get that part, I don't think.
Maybe this is just my in reading into it, but the thing that I like about this, and I do agree with the majority of what you're both saying, but I think what I really like about it is, with anxiety for me and my anxiety, I think there's so much of a bunch of word vomit and a lot of emptiness. And I feel like this poem plays a lot onto this. It's a lot of words. It's very wordy. It's very complex. It's a lot of buildup, and there's a lot of emptiness,
anxiety.
like your anxiety.
I feel that.
So you're saying that there's the intent in making it intentionally wordy.
Yeah, I think that the wordiness, at least for me, if it were my writing or the way that I'm interpreting it, I think the wordiness is the anxiety. It's that convoluted thought process that you have to no avail.
Well, he lands on a very
that you're speaking, and he talks about like the open mouth, the silence, the echo chamber, the black hole. Like all of those things are the emptiness, even though you have all of these convoluted, crowded thoughts, those nails on a chalkboard, like he says.
That was my least favorite part, the screeching nails on the chalkboard. But
But I feel him.
The Starburst versus Reese's Pieces.
No, for
though.
sure.
Okay.
Starburst versus Reese's Pieces being like this pivotal moment
my favorite
because
part.
you have anxiety,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Like that's dope. Like, and
That was a bar.
what I see him doing here is because I don't think the word swag is intentional. I don't think he went in like, I'm gonna make this. I mean, maybe to some degree, as we all do, like we all think we're stacking our poems with the best shit. But that one, there's a reason that slam poems are 3 minutes long. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I feel like 60% of this poem is fucking home run effective. There's a 10 in this poem.
Okay.
With editing.
With editing, for sure.
And he wouldn't need to add shit. But if he omitted some of the stuff, I feel like there's a 10 inside of here already. But because I don't think it was intentional. I think it may have been intentionally, I'm going to write some dope word swaggy shit
that's
and
why
look and feel cool.
That's why I prefaced my comment with, I think that it's just my personal
Yeah,
connection to it, right? Like, I'm not saying that that's how he wrote it. You know, I agree that, I agree with both of those two statements. I agree that in a slam, this probably wouldn't fly, you know, like it needs some major, for sure, off top. But I think that with major editing, there is the 10 in there for sure. I also agree with what you said earlier that on paper, this is probably beautiful.
So
easier to digest and
for sure.
comprehend.
So in Germany, poetry slams are actually 5 minutes long. So
Oh,
suppose we're in
Lord.
Germany, right? And there's an English slam in Germany for whatever reason.
So then he gets a 17-second doc.
And Lana LosAngeles is one of the guest judges.
What you got on this?
Yeah, what has Lana got on this poem?
Are we in Germany or are we slamming here?
It's a slam. It's a slam piece. So let's say like time limit doesn't matter.
Okay. I think that if I'm a guest judge and I'm seeing this as at a slam in its present form, I think I'm going for like a 7.
Okay.
7.
Okay. So art is for the individual to interpret, and because it connects with you, it resonates with you. Totally understood, because that's the point, right? It's like a poem that I think might be a 10 piece might be a 5 for Daniel, and vice versa.
Right.
But a 7 piece, it seems like you really resonated with this piece. Why not in the 8s?
Because I think that there is things that could be worked through. I think that the beginning is very muddled.
Yeah.
I think that there wasn't a clear, definitive start to the piece. And I think that he found his strength later on when he started to talk about, like you said, referencing the candy bars and being able to make a decision. And
coming back to the conversation he was having.
Right.
He sets up the conversation.
And then it gets lost
like,
in the
wait,
description.
where are we?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think I would have scored it higher if that conversation might have stuck through. And again, maybe that's just my personal preference. You can see by my piece that I like a running theme, you know? So
and off rip, like your piece, off rip is like, boom, standardized testing, Scantron.
This is where we are,
and
this
then
is
it
what we're
ends
doing.
with, boom, filling in boxes, standardized testing.
Right.
This is how you frame a poem with a metaphor.
So as a person that identifies with like having anxiety, what about this poem really connects with you that you don't think that might not connect with someone who doesn't have anxiety? Like, what is it about this, the way he delivers it?
I don't think it's necessarily the delivery.
I don't have anxiety, and maybe that's why like it's not really hitting with me.
Right.
So I'm wondering what is it about this piece that really hits with you?
I think it was what I was just mentioning before. I think that it is the presenting both the wordy, messy, convoluted, doesn't make sense idea with the nothingness that you get out of having all of those ideas. I can have 1,000 things to say and all I end up doing is crying, you know? And all I end up with is silence. And when he talks about all of these things and he has all of these words and all of these ideas and all you're trying to do is pick what you want to eat, I don't fucking know what to tell you, you know? Like, I don't have that one word that I'm looking for in the myriad of words that I have just came across, you know? And I think that really rings true for me as someone who has anxiety, because I do that. I overthink everything. I think a million things about it, and I still can't figure out the one thing to say.
So to you, he conveys that feel.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. So
Got
7.
You.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
7.
All right.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm gonna agree actually. Like on the dot, I'm gonna give it that God number and say a 7 because there is a 10 in here. Also, like, shouts out because sometimes I hold space, you know what I'm saying? Come out to a mic and dim lights the first Thursday of every month in beautiful downtown Pomona. And you see people come through sometimes and they're excited to show you how dope they are. And I fucks with that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should be. If you're dope, if you did the work, fucking get it. And this guy did the work. I think unfortunately what happened is he kept doing the work and kept doing the work and kept wanting to prove that he was dope and really didn't like take a moment and say like, what is this poem about? What are the clear things that need to be here to convey that? And what babies, they don't call it killing babies, pardon the, you know what I'm saying? Pardon the what is the adage? But they call it that for a reason because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's fucking
for sure,
hard.
for sure.
And as a writer, I think that often we don't do that or are afraid to do that, and that is the thing that fixes a piece. So all that said, I think that the 10, like I said earlier, doesn't come from adding, it comes from omitting here. And if you just took a breath and let the poem be what it was, it feels like a poem carrying a bunch of other shit on top of it. You feel me? So yeah.
So it's a hopeful 7 from you.
It's a 7, and like this guy's clearly dope. Like you could win slams. Like you could, you know what I'm saying? Like this dude could do real shit. He's good. You're good, bro. Keep doing it. Just chill out. Find the nice settling spot.
Or join writing workshops or something.
Maybe just take this poem and find the 3-minute version and see what that feels like.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Like workshop this in
I would
different
be
ways.
really interested to know what a 3-minute version of this poem sounded like.
Probably tight and understandable.
I feel
and
like that would be cutthroat.
I'm having this conversation, and now I'm in this conversation, and now I'm building this metaphor, and now the black hole and all that stuff hit. You know what I'm saying? It starts to hit at the end again, and you're like, oh, cool, you tying it together. So yeah, I'm gonna say a 7.
Got 5.5.
Okay.
Damn.
It's not bad. Is it?
A 5.5 isn't great, bro.
5.5 is kind of rough.
If you were 5.5.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a slam and I'm getting a 5.5, I might feel a little roughed up.
I'm mad as fuck if I'm getting a 5.5.
All right,
I'm feeling roughed up.
So here's the thing. Like again, as I said, like I've said it before. If it don't land, it don't hit.
Word.
Right.
Fact.
Slam is in the building, right? So you don't have the luxury of rewinding a poet's performance. It's like if either I get it or I don't, and it's like in between, like trying to figure out who he and she is, as well as like the wordiness of it. It's like I'm just not really having a good time. But then there are little flourishes that you see, little flashes of brilliance. It's like, okay, he has the pen, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like no room shakers, like no really dope like landings, like nothing that really lands for me personally. But
and if you're gonna do the build up, you better like he could have not done the build up, and then you would have been like, yeah, he just was spitting a poem.
Right. And yeah, like it's kind of like if you take the template of what a typical spoken word poet intonation goes, like the roller coaster,
because he's doing that the whole time.
Yeah, and it's like, nah, bro, like like have more intent to your intonation. And there are points where he does do it to efficacy. It's like, okay, that worked for what you were trying to do. But then there are a bunch of times where like not necessary.
It's confusing.
Okay.
Yeah. So plus over the time limit, but
penalty.
But no time limit penalty included. Then still, it's like it's padded. Like I'm sure a 3-minute version of this would probably be in the 8s or 9s. But as is, 5.5.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Shout out. Moving on to the second part of the 2-piece combo. #poetry. So Kuya Dave's going to go on Instagram. He's going to find the first thing that he could find. #poetry on the gram. We're going to give it a slam score and all that.
I'm really nervous about this. I don't know why.
Why?
But I'm nervous. Oh no. Sorry.
This episode, we have a poem from Soham 1971, aka Shaman Steve. And as always, we will have our esteemed guest poet read this #poetry piece. So, Lana, if you would please.
I hope I do you justice, Shaman Steve, if you're out there. Completely here and now, most looking for the cash cow, takes diligence to see how the whole field you must plow. Everything is a reflection, continuous deliberate rejection. There is too much introspection. Never take an injection. Realize you are a blessed man.
Shaman Steve. Is that a cantaloupe? What is the image?
It's a fortune. No, it's egg.
It's an egg. I thought it was a fortune cookie also, but it is
Okay.
an
Yo,
F.
Hashtag
by the
good
way,
vibes.
That was a 10 reading.
Good
Very
moments.
smooth.
God bless you.
ASMR type thing.
Should I do that? Would you guys watch my ASMR thing?
Listen to it, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, listen to it. I guess that
I
makes
do the
more
best
sense.
fart ASMR in the town,
Wow.
in the game.
All right.
Okay.
So
What do you guys think about Shaman Steve?
This is fucking. I like Shaman Steve. Shaman Steve.
You totally would.
Get at me, because I know you blow a little ganja. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me you wrote this nah. He said, completely here and now, most looking for the cash cow, takes diligence to see how the whole field you must plow. Everything is a reflection, continuous deliberate rejection. There is so much introspection, never take an ejection, realize you are a blessed man. So it fell apart there at the end, Shaman Steve. But
I like how you tried to put it together, blessed man.
I
You said
tried.
blessed man.
I tried.
Shaman
Please,
Steve probably wears sandals, and he's probably dope, and he's probably nice as fuck. It's
Shaman
probably weird.
Steve for sure wears sandals.
Yeah, for
and
sure,
plays an
man.
acoustic guitar.
And he's not great at poetry, but this is real poetry. This is instantly recognizable as poetry. It isn't like weird or like bad. There is nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think
this is all good advice.
I think it reads a little too much like plain poetry for me.
Yeah.
The now, cow, how,
Yeah.
pow.
Single
I'm just like,
syllable
all
rhymes. Yeah,
right. Like,
Yeah.
there was no like thought between how we got there. It was just like, what rhymes with how?
All right, talk your truth. Say what
What
else?
rhymes with how?
Uh-huh.
Now, plow, cow, excellent.
This
Oh,
might have
what?
been written while pooping and blowing a doint in his outhouse, because he composts his own
fucking
poop.
outhouse.
He composts his own poop, Shaman Steve, for sure.
Art is for the individual to interpret.
I'm dead.
So yeah, no, I fucks with this though. Like, not a lot, you know what I'm saying? But this reminds me of like old deadheads. Like growing up
okay.
in like the punk scene and shit, every once in a while you'd meet like an old hippie that still hung out with like the wild punk rockers and was down still, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, bro, I'll drive you guys fucking all over town like fucking idiots. And he was definitely, Shaman Steve is probably one of those people. Shouts out to all the Shaman Steves. I'm gonna give you a fucking 8.2, family. I'm gonna give you an 8.2.
Let's go.
Because you are clearly trying to write poetry. You're clearly having fun while writing poetry. Shaman Steve is down. You know what I'm saying?
Down for the cause.
Like, he wrote this shit and he's like, that was fun. Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. Now, cow, how, play, rhymes. We got it. We did it.
I love his caption too. Through all the bullshit, we are blessed.
That
And maybe
actually
he's
killed
just
it
like
for
trying
me.
to keep himself clean. You know what I'm
Hashtag
saying?
good vibes. Hashtag good vibes.
And I feel
share.
like never take an injection.
Yeah.
He got real dark right there.
That's
real
personal,
quick.
you know what I'm
Like,
saying?
Yo, yeah.
Shaman
he's been
Steve,
there.
yeah, he's been through it. And
He
he's
has
like,
been there.
hey,
Running the demons away.
Yeah.
yo, Shaman Steve, never take an injection. Realize you are a blessed man.
So
I really tried.
8.0 for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna say an 8.2, Shaman
8.2.
Steve. Keep writing. I like whenever you find poetry and you know that they're not trying to be like they're not trying to be deep. They're not trying to fucking like knock your socks off. They're not trying to be a famous poet. They're just having fun with the medium and like trying to make people feel something.
sure.
So Shaman Steve's trying to do that.
Okay. I'm with it.
Lana LosAngeles. After
You
that
know-
masterful reading.
You know, Shaman Steve, I'm gonna.
Yo, speak your truth. You know, like,
I'm
we
giving
can say
you.
whatever we want.
I'm
you know
giving
what
you a 4, Shaman Steve.
Okay.
And it was gonna be a 5, but then I reread your caption, and the fact that you put bullshit in there just killed it for me.
Hey.
He don't want to swear.
I get it.
He's
and
on the Ned Flanders vibe, you know?
and to
Yeah.
each their own. I feel that, but I'm giving you a 4.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
All this bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are blessed.
God, this is. I'm so conflicted over this piece because, yeah, like to your point, like he is having fun, writing poetry, writing the demons away.
For sure.
The
like-
bullship, if
Like,
you will.
Never take like what I'm really hung up on the last 2 lines. Never take an injection. Realize you are a blessed man. Like
Mandem.
We're never gonna let that go.
shout out to man and wagwan in it.
Yeah.
Through all the bullshit we are and good. Look at this hashtag. Hashtag happy. Hashtag beautiful. Hashtag lifestyle. So, but to your point, stylistically, like single syllable rhymes.
Yeah, it was just
Basic. It's like
it was
Syllable count wacky.
It was too surface level poetry for me.
So I feel like the intent is like a 9, but the execution is a 4. So overall, Shaman Steve, shout out to you, my guy.
Peace, love, and positive vibes only, Shaman Steve.
5 flat. Yeah. I think, 5 flat. All
right.
Because again, like intention, I love the vibes. I know the vibes. I love the vibes. This is kind of like when like a really bad rapper goes over a really dope beat, and then the rapper be like, "Oh, did you like my song?" And you be like, "I like the beat."
Yeah, word.
Same thing, right? Like I love the
Intentions,
vibe.
yeah,
I love the vibe of
cool.
the piece, but the technical execution, like the actual words, is like
Right.
So
Yeah.
5 flat.
That's fair. What's
I
up,
vibe with
Shaman
that.
Steve?
Yeah.
I'm gonna blow a joint for you later.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shaman Steve. I appreciated that.
Real quick though,
You are a blessed man.
what did he say? What through the bullshit?
Through all the bullshit, we are blessed.
What if he extended that though and was like, through all the bullshit, keep sailing on, or something like that? You know what I'm saying?
That would have been poetic,
Like
and that would have been way less surface level than that whole poem.
The show.
That's why I make the big bucks.
So you never know when the Pen Clique gonna pull up on your hashtag poetry piece. So be
Man.
sure to follow us on Instagram at Pen Clique, PENCLIQUE. And you never know. It's like we'll be
You
sure
could
to
be next.
You could be next. And the only way you'll find out that we reviewed your piece is when we tag you. So please follow us at Pen Clique on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the Pen Clique. You know what the story is. All right.
Yes.
Moving on
Yes.
to the last segment of the show.
You're
5
man.
for your eye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
The 5 for your eye is the part of the show where we give our guest poet, Lana LosAngeles, 5 words. She had to write a poem, any style, any format, as long as she used all 5 words. We gave her distinct, value, built, devour, and stalk. Like STALK. 5 words. This is what she brought in.
I have built my life in the line of the written word, poured over my feelings from punctuation to punctuation, and I often find myself lost within the margins. I devour parts of myself only to spill them out on stage in front of you, hoping, if even for a moment, that we will be able to connect on something deeper than selfie-isms and polished images and materialistic physical visions. I want to get to know you. And so I wrap my thoughts around every tiny letter, mix love in the syllable of every word, and sometimes I find that my pen holds more truths than most of my friends do. My notebooks are filled with secrets I can only hope to express to you. Pages and pages of ink-written vulnerabilities. I expose myself to you, wishing that you'd find even an ounce of value in my vowel sounds and be able to sear through the bullshit with the clear cut of my consonants, constantly carrying a notebook on my person as I stalk inspiration from experience to experience. I need it. I'm just dying for y'all to hear it. Caught up, pages turning, pen slashing, every poem a crime of passion, addicted to the snapping. I am in love with these pages. Every phrase makes my soul quake, and I can only hope and pray that you too feel the sensation of each sentence that my pen makes. I ask you to join me here in my attempt to transform the world with the written word, or just leave me solid in my stanzas if you cannot make peace with my preface, and my anthology proves itself too much for you to bear. That's fair. I will understand that. See, this is not for everyone, but for me, poetry is everything, and I am just working to tell my story. And although my chapters might be muddled, smudged, tear-stained, and at times hard to follow, the moral is distinct. I think I would rather write than do just about anything.
Hey, let's go. Pen Clique family.
Yeah, a little love poem to poetry itself.
Yeah, for
Love it.
sure.
What a way to end the show. Thank
Love
you.
of my
family.
life. Thank
Wow.
you. That was a really fun prompt. I need more of that in my life.
Lana LosAngeles,
Thank you so much.
where can
y'all.
the people get at you?
You can follow me on social media platforms, every social media platform, Lana LosAngeles, or visit my website at lanalosangeles.com.
Mr. Chubby Fat God, where can they get at you?
Follow us at the Chubby Fat on Instagram. We doing all kinds of silly shit over there. I'm always doing dumb shit over there. Come out to Mike and Dim Lights the first Thursday of every month in beautiful downtown Pomona. We love y'all. Tell a friend. Write a poem.
Yes, write a poem.
Hey, thank
or
you.
two.
Thank you, Lana.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate it. Y'all the best. Y'all the truth. Love y'all.